Good morning, Senator Edwards. How are things in Annapolis today?
Well, it's kind of like summertime down here weather-wise. Otherwise, it's very, very busy.
Yeah, same up here. I mean, I've had Junes and Julys that didn't have as good as weather as we've had the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, you know, Garrett County, it could switch on a dime.
All right, we're recording the interview with Senator Edwards, and one of the reasons is that he has a vote coming up, a voting session coming up this morning. Any big votes on the schedule for today, Senator?
Well, this is in the committee. We try to get all the bills out of committee that we're going to get out of there. Crossover date's Monday evening, and what that means is if you get them out of the Senate to the House, they don't have to go to the Rules Committee, and vice versa from the House to the Senate. If you get it over there after what's called the crossover date, it's got to go through the Rules Committee in that House, and sometimes that delays things. So most of the bills we'll be looking at today aren't overly controversial in the committee, and of course now we have a flood of them coming to the floor because we held up a lot of them until we got finished with the budget in the Senate, and now they're all starting to come out, and there'll be some. We have Plan Maryland or Sustainable, whatever they call it, growth bill, which is very controversial. That's going to be a lot of debate on that. It's been laid over now, I think, 3 times. So we'll be probably starting to discuss that one today. The EE committee passed the flush fee increase, so it'll be hitting the floor probably on second reader today or Monday.
Well,
what's happened there, if I can, just
go ahead.
Since we talked the last time, is the governor backed off of his increasing it to 60, I think, and then for people that don't have meters, water meters, and then they were going to have a usage so much per 1,000 gallons. Well, they found out that would really play havoc with businesses, especially small businesses, but ones that might use a lot of water would have paid a tremendous amount of money. So they backed away from that and went to straight across $75 from 30, which it is now. But the committee amended that. I haven't seen the whole bill, but the main thrust of the committee is they dropped the 75 to 60. So that's what we're going to be dealing with there, just doubling of the fee, which is still going to create a lot of debate and a lot of negative response to that. So that'll be another major type bill we're going to be looking at in the next day or two.
That's one of the issues up here in Garrett County that is kind of a thorn in the side, in that most of the county is not part of the Chesapeake Bay watershed, but we get to participate in all the efforts to save the bay, no matter if we're not helping pollute it or not. You've made that argument over the years, and I guess the answer they've always given you is, well, you're part of the state and you're going to go with it, and that's the way it is.
More or less that's what they say, but I am going to try to get an amendment on that says that for parts of the state the water doesn't go to the bay, it'll remain at $30. I know I can't get the 30 taken off, but if I can get it held at 30, that would be somewhat of a plus. And some of our people do. Part of this money goes to farmers for cover crops if they apply and are eligible and get approved. And the other thing, some of it goes to help replace existing septics if they're worn out or if they need replaced. And I know some people have gotten money out of this fund for that. So we have gotten some money, but because and there's one of these other funds that we're going to have to abide by. They have lessened up some of the requirements in parts of the state where water doesn't flow into the bay, so I think we have a good argument. I need to find out the name of that one. It's one of these for environmental purposes, cleaning up the bay, and certain restrictions on what you can discharge, etc. They've made lesser, well, we have to do lesser things, so that's a good example of saying why we should allow this to stay at $30. So I'll use that argument, but I have to get the correct terminology of what that issue is at this point.
Plan Maryland has kind of taken a back seat a little bit, at least up in our area, because of the school funding issue and the Marcellus Shale issue and all kinds of other issues. The ASCII issue that is going to be kind of addressed on Tuesday at a county commissioner press conference here. Plan Maryland, where does that stand right now, and has it been watered down any way that would limit the impact here on Garrett County?
Well, that's the one that's called Sustainable Something now, not Plan Maryland, and that's the one I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's a little less infringing, but it's still it's basically land planning and use has always been a prerogative of local government. They set the specifics in that. They always have. This is kind of like a takeover by the state, saying we're going to set the boundaries, and you need to abide by what we set, whether you particularly like it or you don't like it. And there's 4 categories, and I'm not an expert. I'm trying to understand what's in this. It wasn't in my committee, so it's you try to take time to learn what's in it. But there's 4 categories. Probably 2 of the 4 aren't that bad. The big one is when they get down to saying, okay, if you own a farm, let's say, Paul, you owned a farm, 100-acre farm, and you wanted to retire, and you saw that as your retirement investment, and you wanted to sell lots off of it. Mm-hmm. Well, under this one, the most you could do would be 7 with a septic. If you went above 7, you'd have to put in a central treatment plant and/or hook up to an existing sewage treatment facility. Well, either if you're not that close to one, it would cost you an arm and a leg to get a line to it, if there's enough capacity in the existing one to take it. If not, and you had to build a central system for that site, it would cost considerably more than putting in septics. So, in essence, what a lot of us see is it's kind of devaluing the value of your property,
right?
Which has a very big impact on a lot of people where we're at, because, as you know, a lot of it's open spaces or ag land and/or forestry and forestry management kind of land, and families for generations have had it, and at some point maybe they want to sell some lots or do a small subdivision off of it. Well, this is going to restrict it to, it started out at 5, I think now they've moved it to 7 before you have to do this stuff. But I think the first 2 probably aren't that bad. It's just the fact that here Big Brother is telling everybody what to do again, and it's getting to the point, if you look at all the other stuff that's in where Big Brother here is going to be telling the counties what to do, the point is saying, well, yeah, might as well do away with the county, just let state run everything. And I'm sure the people don't want that to happen. So that's kind of what you're dealing with, and the philosophy of who should be doing what. And I believe it's worked over the years that the counties have been the land managers of the state, and in my opinion should remain that way, and this takes a lot of that authority away from them.
Taking that example you gave, if this happened and it was in opposition to local zoning laws, you would go to the zoning appeals board and get a variance, or you could appeal it.
Right.
What would happen in the state regulation? Would you go to the local zoning board to get a variance, or would there be a new state board and a whole new layer of government put on there?
There is something, depending on what layer you're talking, 1, 2, 3, or 4 category. They keep telling me you can get waivers, which the county would have to approach. You wouldn't really be able to do it individually. The county would, I think, have to be the one to approach the state. But like I told people in state planning, I said, you say that in simplistic terms like it's an easy thing to do. I said, that's like beating your head against the wall trying to get a waiver from the state on stuff. And, we have some examples in Garrett where we've tried to do some stuff and you had to get some waivers, and it took a heck of a long time and a lot of stress and strain from people from Garrett County to try to get something done, because you get into these turf battles, and they got all this power, they don't want to give up any of their power, and we're going to tell you what to do whether you like it or not, and you're going to do it the way we've said you're going to do it. And the problem is when you get the bureaucrats down here who are familiar with the Baltimore-Washington corridor and really aren't that familiar with the rural parts of the state, they put all this stuff together based on what's good for that area. Well, that doesn't mean it's good for our area, and you know, you have to have some flexibility in this stuff, but it's very difficult once it's put in law to get waivers, to get changes made, especially if the central part of the state isn't having a big deal with it.